Welcome to this explainer. Right this second, inside almost every single one of your roughly 30 trillion cells, there's a microscopic command center actively keeping you alive. Today, we're shrinking down to explore the absolute master control room of human biology, the cell nucleus.
Think about it for a second. How does a microscopic, totally invisible cell actually know exactly when to divide? Or how to neutralize a toxin? Or how to sequentially build the complex proteins that make up your muscles and organs? I mean, the sheer logistics required for a single cell to function are just staggering. There has to be a master architect calling the shots and processing all that biological data simultaneously, just to make sure chaos doesn't take over.
Here's our flight path for today's explainer. We're going to hit the master control room, check out the double-walled vault, go swimming in the nucleoplasm, untangle chromatin, step inside the ribosome factory, and finally wrap up with the core functions of the nucleus. Let's get right into it.
Section 1. The Master Control Room. Unveiling the core of the cell.
If a sprawling cell is a bustling metropolis, the nucleus is City Hall, the central library, and the mayor's office all rolled into one highly efficient package. When examining human cheek cells scraped from the inside of a mouth and magnified about 2,000 times, you'll immediately notice these distinct, incredibly dense, dark spots sitting right in the middle of each cell. Those are the actual master control rooms we're talking about today. Almost every single cell in your body completely relies on that dense core to manage its daily survival.
We actually owe the discovery of this massive structure to a Scottish botanist named Robert Brown, way back in the 1830s. While he was studying the microscopic structure of orchids, he kept noticing this large, typically spherical body inside the plant cells. He dubbed it the nucleus, which actually draws from the Latin word for kernel or seed. And it really is a giant. It's by far the largest organelle in there, often taking up about 10% of the cell's total internal volume. It acts as the absolute brain, holding a vast encyclopedia of hereditary info and dynamically regulating every single thing the cell does.
Moving right along to Section 2, the double-walled vault, the nuclear envelope.
Okay, so a biological command center, this crucial needs some serious, uncompromising security, right? Enter the nuclear envelope. It's a highly specialized double-membrane vault, and the contrast between the two walls is wild. The inner membrane is a smooth, highly protective barrier totally devoid of ribosomes. It's basically the last line of defense. But the outer membrane, it's rugged and completely studded with protein-building ribosomes. And what's truly brilliant about the architecture here is that this outer wall flows directly into and is physically continuous with the endoplasmic reticulum. This seamless connection means the nucleus is hardwired straight into the cell's broader transport highway, ready to ship out critical instructions instantly.
The gap between these two walls is called the perinuclear space. But this vault isn't just a completely sealed-off bubble. It relies on highly secure biological doors called nuclear pores. These pores are enclosed by circular protein structures called annealia, and together they make up the pore complex. Honestly, it's best to think of this complex as a team of incredibly strict molecular bouncers. They meticulously regulate the secure transfer of messenger RNA heading out to build proteins, or regulatory macromolecules coming in to turn genes on and off. Nothing, absolutely nothing, gets through these heavily guarded pores without the correct molecular ID.
Which brings us to Section 3, Swimming in the Nucleoplasm, the gelatinous matrix. So once we're safely past those strict bouncers at the pore complex, we're entirely inside the vault, and the environment here is profoundly different from the rest of the cell. The entire internal volume is filled with the nucleoplasm, a term originally coined by the pioneering anatomist Purkinje. Instead of just a watery fluid, imagine a highly viscous, beautifully organized, jelly-like molecular soup. It's inside this precise, nutrient-rich, heavily protected matrix that the cell's most delicate and vital materials are permanently suspended, totally isolated from the metabolic chaos happening outside.
All right, Section 4, chromatin, the genetic thread. Time to uncoil the blueprint of life.
Floating right there in that gelatinous nucleoplasm is the absolute secret of life itself, chromatin. Now get this. It put it into perspective, if you took the DNA out of just one of your microscopic cells and stretched it end to end, it'd be about 2 meters long. So how on earth does 2 meters of code fit into a microscopic vault? Pure, efficient packaging. Your DNA wraps beautifully and super tightly around a core of 8 specific proteins called histones, kind of like thread wrapped around a spool. These repeated structural units are called nucleosomes. During the normal resting phase of a cell, this brilliantly packaged DNA and protein forms the indistinct thread-like network we call chromatin.
But here's the kicker, and it's absolutely crucial. Not all chromatin behaves the same way at the same time. We actually observe two completely distinct operational states. First, you have euchromatin. This is loosely packed. Because its physical structure is open, the cell's copying machinery can easily jump in, reach the active genes, and transcribe them into messenger RNA. Basically, euchromatin is actively shouting out instructions. Heterochromatin, on the other hand, is tightly condensed and functionally inactive. Under a microscope, it stains intensely dark because it's just so incredibly dense. Think of heterochromatin like a closed reference book on a library shelf, safely packed away and taking up minimal space until the exact day it is specifically needed.
Let's dive even deeper. Section 5. The ribosome factory. Inside the nucleolus.
Suspended even deeper within the nucleoplasm, surrounded by all that protective chromatin, is a conspicuous, really dense sphere called the nucleolus. Uniquely, it isn't even bound by its own membrane. Instead, it's a highly active, physical workspace, a dedicated factory zone purely focused on manufacturing ribosomal RNA. Scientifically, we call this process ribosomal biogenesis. And why does this matter so much to you? Well, because ribosomes are the tiny biological machines that build absolutely every single protein in your body. Your muscle fibers, your digestive enzymes, your skin structure, all of it requires ribosomes. Without this dedicated factory sphere right inside the nucleus, protein production would just completely halt, and life as we know it would instantaneously cease.
Which leads us to our final stop. Section 6. Functions of the nucleus, the ultimate command center summarized. Let's pull back from our microscopic dive for a second and look at the big picture of what this single organelle continuously achieves. The nucleus is, hands down, the biological world's greatest multitasker. It securely stores the hereditary information passed down from your ancestors, protecting it from damage. It acts as the ultimate code breaker, managing the breathtakingly complex job of perfect DNA duplication, while simultaneously transcribing that code to produce vital enzymes. By dictating the precise flow of this genetic info and actively hosting the production of ribosomes, it comprehensively manages and controls every single cellular activity, day in and day out.
So as we wrap up this explainer, I want you to pause and really ponder this incredible reality. You have tens of trillions of these magnificent structures operating inside you right this very second. This tiny speck, totally invisible to the naked human eye, holds the vast, unbelievably complex instruction manual for your entire existence. Every physical trait, every immune response, and every metabolic function is flawlessly governed by that double-walled vault. As our microscopic imaging technology continues to rapidly evolve, we have to ask, what other intricate, mind-bending secrets are still waiting to be decoded in the absolute depths of our own cells? Keep learning, keep questioning, and I'll see you in the next explainer.